Hi, I'm Joe from Zento, and today we're trying to answer the question, can you learn Japanese with Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney? Let's jump straight into it. Phoenix Wright seems to be either a love it, hate it, or never heard of it kind of game, with most people I know falling into the love it category. For those who don't know, or need reminding, Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney is a series of games in which you play as a lawyer, solving crimes and proving innocence in dramatic court battles, with amazing music. With gameplay more similar to a visual novel than your standard action or adventure games, the appeal of the game lies very much in the characters and plot of the games. Which begs the question, can you still enjoy this game if you're playing it in a language you're only learning? This is a question we'll be exploring over the course of this video. The Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trilogy is available on Nintendo Switch and Steam on PC, but the games individually are available on the DS series of consoles and even smartphones. The iOS version here in Japan is of course in Japanese, but in your respective regions you'd have to check before purchasing on mobile. I know, however, that the Switch and Steam versions provide multi-language support. For this video, I'll be playing the Switch version. The game's often on sale too, so it's relatively inexpensive, roughly £10 or 1,000 yen, which for 3 games, totaling 14 chapters, is pretty good value. The game itself is entirely text-based, with no spoken dialogue, even during cutscenes, so we're strictly looking at reading practice with this game. Luckily, however, almost all the content in the game allows you to take your time reading and only progress when ready with a push of the A button. Many times you can often repeat content over and over as well, meaning that you can really get into the sentence and check understanding. The font size in the game is nice and big, at least on the Switch, but the lack of furigana can mean lots of checking pronunciations in the dictionary, which is rather time consuming. The vocab itself, at first, is seemingly pretty high level. I've never watched any law dramas on TV or anything, so even in English I would struggle with some of the legal words, but once you have searched these genre-specific words once or twice, the same words appear over and over again, providing a natural SRS, which gives you the opportunity to really learn some new words. Whether they'll be useful to your language learning goals is a question I can't answer though. But of course, between the law jargon, there is normal conversation, normal interaction between human characters. They ask questions and answer them, and there's lots and lots of context. As with lots of manga, anime, and games, some characters have language quirks which are a bit unnatural, but if Japanese people can understand them, so should we be able to too. If I had to put a grade to it, I would say an N3 level student would have a good challenge and an N2 level person would be able to happily play the game, only stopping to look up the rarer words and jargon. Right, so here we are, we've got the witness testimony, and we need to look for a contradiction. So we can read what he says, we can go through it forwards, we can go backwards. If we miss something, we can read it over and over again, and we want to find something strange. If we push the R button, we've got this case file of all the things we need, all the info. If we have a look at like the autopsy report, we can see that the victim died sometime after 4 in the afternoon, but before 5. And she was killed with a blunt weapon. And we got the day up there as well, the 31st of July. So if we read through this, let's have a look, see if we can find anything suspicious. So he said he went to the room and saw a man leaving. Okay. So when he saw the man, the door was half open, so he went inside. He thought it was a bit strange, so he had a look in the door. And then there was a woman dead on the floor. He says it a bit strange. He says, "Shinderu ja gozaimasen ka?" Which is sort of like, oh, she was dead, wasn't she? Which is a kind of strange way to say it, but that happens sometimes in this game. People say things in strange ways. So he said he was scared, like, frozen with fear, but he didn't go in the room. Okay, so he didn't go in the room. But he thought he should call the police straight away. But the woman's phone didn't connect. Even though he just said he didn't go in the room. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna push him for some more information on that. So the phone didn't connect? Yeah, but you didn't enter the room, right? Ah, yeah. So we have tana no ue, so tana like shelf. So on the shelf, denwa no koki? What is that? I don't know what that is. Okay, so denwa no koki is like a extra handset, a cordless handset for a phone. So he's saying that they're in the genkan, the entrance to the apartment, on a shelf was like a cordless house phone. So he tried to use that. Okay, that adds up. A bit suspicious, but okay, that one can pass. So what happens next? So he went to a nearby public phone box to call the police, and he remembers the time very clearly. Hakkiri oboete imasu. Very clearly remembers the time. It was in the late afternoon. It was 2 p.m. But if we check our court record, our autopsy record, this says somewhere between 4 and 5, so that's not right. Let's push him, see what he says. 間違えれませんか? Are you sure that's correct? Are you sure that's not incorrect? Yes, very sure. Very suspicious. So Chihiro's gonna help us out here. We've got some red text that's telling us, there's something suspicious here. There's something key we're missing. So it's saying us to check our things, check our record. So let's have a look. Go to the autopsy, we can present it, and we found a contradiction. So they're saying they found it at 2, but the autopsy report says it was after 4. So they're saying there is no way he could have found it at 2 p.m. So something doesn't quite line up. Something's not quite adding up here. He's squirming, he's wiggling. It's all falling to pieces. We've got him. Anyway, hope you thought this was useful, this little live demo about one aspect of the game and how we can use it to learn some words. I learned the word. Should we hear it?
Koki.
Koki. I learned koki as in a portable handset for a house phone. And that was just one example, one part of the whole game. Here's what I think is the main problem with learning Japanese with Phoenix Wright. If you haven't played the game in English, the game's systems themselves could be pretty complex. Presenting evidence at just the right time and finding contradictions in testimonies could be really difficult and potentially progression halting, without a good walkthrough to help you out anyway. It can be frustrating when making too many mistakes, as you'll have to repeat content and dialogue to get back to the point you're stuck on, while still being stuck when you get back to where you were, so it could take a long time to progress. However, with that warning out of the way, there is some hope. There are 2 seasons of the Phoenix Wright anime released at the time of recording this video, and they follow the story and plot of the games pretty closely, so it's a great way to compound your reading and vocab practice with something a bit more easy to consume, which then in turn could help you progress back in the games. Just something to think about if you're considering attempting this game. As this game is borderline visual novel, the core gameplay sections are divided into 2, sometimes overlapping activities. The first, reading dialogue, presenting evidence, and finding contradictions in court. And the second, moving around locations, collecting said evidence, and interviewing witnesses. The result being a very strong learning to gaming ratio. If you aren't reading the text and aren't following what's happening, you cannot really just play the game as something like Mario, where you can just run around whether you understand the objective or not. So for a serious study session, it's great. But for something more casual, maybe this isn't the right game for that mood. It's difficult to talk about this game's fun factor, as it's such a strange genre of game, collection of topics, and potential difference in people's interests. What I can say is, for people who have played and loved the games in English, it's a really great experience seeing what differs from the translated version and what remains the same, which I think is super interesting from a cultural point of view. The game is broken into chapters and acts, so it provides lots of natural stopping points, in addition to the ability to save and quit anytime and pick up exactly where you left off. On the other hand, however, if you haven't played the games before and are just looking for a game to practice your language skills, I don't think I could recommend Phoenix Wright for you, unless you've seen the footage in this video and think, this game seems like that special something you never knew you needed before now. So, let's answer the question, can you learn Japanese with Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trilogy? My answer would be, yes, mostly. If you're a total beginner, I would say the game is probably too advanced, and with no prior knowledge of the game's story and mechanics, the barrier for entry is just too high. But if you have a decent foundation, or you've played the games before, the game provides great reading practice and comprehension with tons of opportunity to learn, at the expense of any of that mindless fun gameplay you can find in platformers or other genres. A lot of the game's charm comes from the characters and lots of jokes to pop and nerdy culture. I think the translators did a good job. But in the original Japanese, there are some times when I experience something that should be funny or a reference to something, but I didn't quite get it. But sometimes that happens in life, and it didn't impact my enjoyment of the game overall, and it bears repeating. This is 3 games in 1. So in English, the average time to complete the game is about 60 hours. So in Japanese, we're talking maybe 100 hours of playtime / study time, which for £10 is something I have no objections with. Sorry. Anyway, have you played Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney in Japanese, or do you want to? Please let me know in the comments, and do you have any suggestions for games to cover next? If you follow me on Twitter or Instagram, I've recently started a mini project of analysing Japanese Pokemon cards, so if you like what I do, check that out, and be sure to like, subscribe, and share with your language learning friends. Thanks for watching. I've been Joe from Zento. Bye.